The Bureau Boys is an improvised detective serial. Every Monday morning, the Bureau Boys solve crimes based on clues sent in by their informants.
That's you! Go to thebureauboys.com to submit your clues, informant. Thanks to informant Doug for this week's clue for the case of the Batty Billionaire. Recruit.
When we last left the Bureau Boys, they were still on the grounds of the estate of
Peter Albright, narrator. You know the billionaire?
I do, but his name keeps falling right out of my head, like crumbs fall out of Detective Riley's beard. Anyhow.
Or weight plates fall off of Detective Potter's barbells when he's finished.
That's not true, narrator. Detective Potter always uses weight clips. Anyhow, the boys were still on the estate of the Albright Manor, atop Hill Valley Hill, next to the Christian Science Church, or Reading Room, which I think are the same thing, and the boys have been using interchangeably.
The boys had found a map to Peter Albright's property, and they also discovered that many animals had died of syphilis right here on the property. And the first of those dead, narrator?
A goose.
Indeed. So the boys had trekked their way to the morgue on Peter Albright's property, conveniently labeled Death Room.
An ominous label if I've ever heard one, narrator. The boys crested a hill and had just flung open the door of the Death Room morgue. Oh, Detective Riley, I thought something scary was going to be behind this door.
Oh, just a bunch of dust.
Yeah, and the smell of death.
Death is in the air. Let's tread lightly.
Detective Riley, that might be easy for you, now that you put down that binder, but for me, it's not as easy.
Detective Riley takes point lead, tiptoeing inside.
Detective Potter initially tries to cower behind him, but then realizes he can just pick up Detective Riley and use him as a shield. Hup, hup.
Woohoo! This is so much easier. You should pick me up all the time. You're like the dad I never had.
We'll get one of those, what do you call them, a papoose? You do.
Narrator, I don't think Detective Potter can hear you.
No, he can't. I just wanted to affirm that Detective Potter sometimes gets his language correct. And also double check that the boys can't hear us again. Remember that?
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure that the connection has been broken.
All right.
Gotta fix our Wi-Fi. Or hi-fi, human... forget it.
No, I liked it, narrator. What could Wi-Fi possibly stand for? Wireless fidelity to the boys. Wireless fantasy interaction. There you go, narrator. Wi-Fi.
I'll take it.
Detective Riley.
There's just rows and rows of little tiny cabinets.
Yes, each cabinet, Detective Riley, labeled with a different animal. Tiny animals, of course.
Small. There's a...
gerbil.
And a...
hamster. Sorry, Detective Riley, do you want to finish one of these thoughts? You're going to have to spit it out faster to get the drop on old Detective Potter.
Just then, Detective Potter starts rattling off every box he can see, without cessation.
Mouse, rat, snake, another gerbil, guinea pig, mini kitten, mini pony.
Detective Riley is powerless to interject until Detective Potter finishes naming all 567 boxes.
And a baby whale shark.
Wow.
That was exhausting, Detective Riley, to hold you this whole time and read all those.
I was going to say, you're barely trembling. I'm very impressed.
Thank you. I'm only trembling from fear.
You can put me down now.
But I'm scared.
So Detective Potter clutches Detective Riley even closer to his breast. Okay, it's all right, Detective Potter. I'm right here. I'm leading. I'm in the front. If anything happens, it'll get to me first. Which isn't a pleasant thought.
That's why I always have you ride in the passenger seat in case we get hit from that side of the car. Detective Riley, I've never told anyone this, but my greatest fear in life, and I can't believe that we've been to so many places that are buried on cemeteries, like that pet cemetery and that Indian burial ground, or Native American burial ground, I guess more appropriately. But my biggest fear is that dead animals are going to rise from their graves, just like in Pet Cemetery, Detective Riley. I feel like I'm living out Pet Cemetery.
Detective Potter pisses his pants. It's okay, Detective Potter. I'm right here.
Detective Potter then pisses Detective Riley's pants. Sorry.
See, Detective Potter? I pissed my own pants. Just for you.
Oh, I thought I pissed your pants.
I was trying to be a good friend.
Thank you, Detective Riley, but I have to face this fear.
Okay. You want me to resurrect some of these animals? We can face your fear right now.
Wait, can you? I was just going to start opening cabinets and looking death right in the face, Detective Riley, but if you can... Wait a minute, Detective Riley. If you can resurrect the original goose, kind of the Omega Man of this syphilis outbreak, which is Detective Potter carries Detective Riley over to a cabinet, which is in this cabinet, maybe we can... ask the goose?
The Omega mammal. Okay, Detective Potter.
Okay, Detective Riley, I'm going to open it first because that's going to be the first part of confronting my fear. The second part of my fear will be talking to the reanimated corpse of a goose.
Right, one step at a time.
Detective Potter flings open the cabinet, and it's like one of those morgues. There's one of those drawers in there, and he pulls that out, and you know how, like... narrator, when you open your refrigerator and it's a humid day and you open it up and some of that air cools very rapidly and forms almost like a misty steam, but it's not steam because it's cold, not hot. You know what I'm talking about.
On an Alabama summer, I open my refrigerator on an hourly basis just to get a nice spritzing from the heat.
And a nice sweet tea. Anyhow, narrator, that also happens as Detective Potter rolls the drawer out with one hand, clutching Detective Riley with the other.
Oh, it's actually more well-preserved than I expected.
Yeah, and that breeze was kind of refreshing. This goose doesn't look that dead at all, Detective Riley.
The goose has some white feathers, a yellow bill, webbed feet.
We've all seen a goose, narrator. There's nothing particularly unusual about it, except...
there's a giant hole in its chest, and its neck is 3 times its normal length, as if it had been...
strangled. Detective Riley, I know that on Wednesdays we've been going through the manifestation of the symptoms of syphilis.
Yeah.
But if you'll recall correctly, a hole in the chest and an elongated neck are not 2 of the symptoms of syphilis.
Okay. Is it chlamydia? Hepatitis B?
Detective Riley, I think maybe those medical reports were doctored by Peter Albright or somebody that works in the death room. And since we've only seen one human since we've been here...
it could have been an animal doctor.
It could have been that.
Not like a doctor that...
for
not
animals.
Like a human doctor that works on animals.
Like a vet.
Like an animal.
Right.
Yeah. But an animal who is a doctor.
Exactly, Detective Riley. It could have been an animal doctor, meaning a doctor that is an animal, meaning an animal that got its PhD.
Medical... yes.
Or medical license, MD. I'm just saying, Detective Riley, doctors, like surgeons, aren't the only ones that have doctorates.
Right. Even a dentist has a doctorate.
That is true.
Wait. Hold on. Are you saying that this goose didn't die of syphilis, but and maybe the other animals didn't either?
I'm saying that at least this first animal that we've examined, well, I guess he could have had syphilis, but he was also strangled and maybe punched so hard in the chest that a hole formed.
What Detective Potter and Detective Riley hadn't noticed yet is that there are tiny impressions of a human man's knuckles.
Detective Riley, look closer at that caved-in chest of this poor goose. What do you see?
It looks like little waves.
Yeah.
Ridges?
Knuckles, Detective Riley.
Wait, that might be the key to resurrecting this particular animal. See, every animal, there's a different way to resurrect them. Like, if there was a dead snake, for example, I would do tongue to tongue.
Okay.
That's what snakes respond to. If it was a cow, nipple to nipple.
Right.
But with this goose, I'm going to do fist to fist.
Okay.
Is that computing with your brain?
I totally understand where you're coming from, Detective Riley. I'm just wondering if resurrecting this goose is going to be a bridge too far because, Detective Riley, as you know, my favorite thing about our adventures is detecting. And if you resurrect this goose and he just tells us exactly what happened to him, it's like we can't do the detective work anymore. And I'm terrified of geese. And dead geese.
Detective Potter shits his pants.
And then he shits Detective Riley's pants. Sorry.
Detective Potter, snap out of it. Detective Riley slaps Detective Potter across the chin.
Oh, thank you. I needed that. And now I get why it was so annoying when geese would shit all over the ants in the pants picnic pants.
It's rude and it's unbecoming of a human being.
Detective Riley, it's not just my fear speaking about resurrecting this dead goose, but I don't want to sound too much like you, but I feel like all animals deserve their eternal peace, including guinea pigs, rats, gerbils, mice, geese, baby whale sharks.
Detective Potter continues rattling off every name of every animal he sees in the room, all of them that I mentioned earlier.
And then he slides closed the drawer, but not before grabbing the toe tag that is tied around the goose's webbed foot. Detective Riley, I just feel like maybe everything we need to know is right here in this toe tag. And I also feel like we've been really leaning very hard into the occult ever since we had that pagan conversation with Carl. I just don't want to open any gates that we don't know how to close.
Like animal hell?
Exactly right, Detective Riley.
Well, but then before we go, I just want to make mention that that goose's neck was pretty long for its body, probably indicating strangulation. Who's the scientist now?
Are you fucking with me, Detective Riley? That's like the first thing I said.
Who's the scientist? Say it.
You're doing great on our Wednesday classes, Detective Riley. And I'll tell you what, I feel this like overwhelming kind of spirituality. Maybe it's just been hanging out with you, but look, Detective Potter reaches into his pocket and pulls out a pamphlet. I had gotten this from the Christian Science Church. I think it's like a recruitment pamphlet.
Detective Riley takes the pamphlet, flipping it open to page 3.
So page 3 meaning like the third part of the trifold on the pamphlet. Is that what you mean, narrator?
The last page of the brochure. Yeah, exactly. Detective Riley skips past all the intro bullshit and gets right to the meaty stuff. Oh, so you want to become a soldier of heaven? Okay, Detective Potter.
Detective Riley, no. No, I'm not ready to go that far, Detective Riley. But look at the bottom third of the right third of that pamphlet. There's specifically a reference to the biblical death room. Detective Riley, if the Christian Science Church next door is making a reference to the death room, and we have a death room here on campus, it leads me to believe that maybe there's a connection to all these murders of all these animals at the Christian Science room.
Detective Potter, just you saying that, it just leads me to think that with all these dead animals, it kind of feels pretty plaguey to me.
Exactly, Detective Riley. Remember I mentioned those frogs falling from the sky?
Yes.
And Detective Riley, I don't want to say that we're wasting a ton of time investigating the deaths of all these animals when there is a missing woman. And this wellness check is not going well.
We still haven't met Peter Albright. He could still be dressed up as every Batman villain in the Batman universe simultaneously doing God knows what to himself and his child.
And Detective Riley, the Hunters Club, we found out, literally hunts humans for sport. However, I cannot sit right letting all these dead animals go without justice. Because Detective Riley, the pet cemetery nightmare that I have every night, maybe you've heard me awakened in the middle of the night screaming. And I'm not screaming, "Where's the geese," Detective Riley. I'm screaming in horror.
I've heard you many times, Detective Potter. In fact, I've wet you down with a cold compress. I've changed your undies. I've made you a cheese sandwich while you paced the kitchen in your sleep, looking for a way out.
Okay, that's very dangerous to do because if I'm asleep, I shouldn't be chewing and swallowing. But anyhow, Detective Riley, I think that we should probably check out the church next door. No?
Detective Potter, I'm with you. So the boys look at around the room one last time, making sure they didn't miss anything.
Detective Potter, one more time, reads out every animal in the room, just so Detective Riley remembers them with his audiographic memory. You got all that?
Yes, it's well imprinted at this point. Detective Potter picks up the files and the bags of presumably cash because it's cloth bags with the dollar signs on them. And Detective Riley grabs the binder.
And then Detective Potter grabs Detective Riley,
hoisting him above his head triumphantly, knowing that he's on a mission from God to save the animals.
The boys leave the death room. They leave the Albright estate entirely without doing their wellness check, but maybe they'll be back. And they head over to the Christian Science Church next door. The boys approach a large gate, not unlike the pearly gates. An electronic voice welcomes them as the gate swings open.
What's the true connection between that goose that had a fist-sized hole in its chest and a wrung neck and Peter Albright's manicness and the dead animals full of syphilis? There's gotta be a connection there. Oh, and the connection between all of that plus Christian Science.
That's what I thought you were gonna ask, narrator. What will the Bureau Boys find on the other side of this gate, and who is at the other end of that electronic voice?
Will Detective Potter finally convert to scientific Christianity?
And will Detective Potter finally come to terms with the horrors of dead pets?
Will a dead pet be resurrected at some point? Find out the answers to these questions and many more next week on the case of the Batty Billionaire.
If you enjoyed this episode, help the Bureau Boys solve this case by submitting your clue at thebureauboys.com. They may use it on a future episode.
While you're there, why not join their informant network and tell all your friends and family to join too? But don't tell the criminals, because the Bureau Boys are coming for them.